movement on natural farming is taken place through the Ravit Sangha, and it got popularized at that time itself. And then it's moved from Karnataka to Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and other parts. So in that, then in 2019, there was a wider consultation with states to promote the natural farm. That's how the natural farming is also got importance, and our state government, Karnataka State Department of Agriculture, moved towards natural farming. Given project actually, initially they proposed to take up the natural farming directly in the farmer's field. One of our scientists, Dr. Maligwad, he opposed it without doing any research in our research station, without validation or without knowing anything, will not take it to farmer's field. Hence, the government agenda was changed to do the validation of the natural farming practices with our established natural organic farming and also conventional farming practices. That was given in the mode of project. It was given to all the agroclimatic zones, to all the universities, with all the multidisciplinary scientists. They were made suggested to go with the senior scientists who are expertised in different faculty members, and that's how the initiation on natural farming research was taken place at Karnataka in all the state agricultural universities. Then the announcement by Honorable Finance Minister, that history also you know, in the budget speech on promoting natural farming. Okay? So the statement of Nirmala Sitharaman was, we shall go back to basics on one count, zero budget farming. That was announced, and the initiation on natural farming is further aggravated. Our Prime Minister, Honorable Modi, appeals to farmers to cut down the use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. He appealed to the farmers, wherever is possible, try to cut down the usage of fertilizers and pesticides. Indirectly is proposed to adopt a natural farming practice. Then May 2020, Norman Krida collaborative project on adoption of natural farming and its effect on crop yield and farmers' livelihood in India. In collaboration, the studies was taken. See some of the results of it. National level consultation on BPTP, natural farming, and other topics. Movement.
Only TV also.
So meeting on natural farming, it was discussed the steps to be taken up, how to go forward, and all those things for writing the new approaches to sustainable farming system. And in January 2020, report launched. Can the zero budget natural farming save input cost? That was the question. So subsidies that are being given to the fertilizers. You know, lot of subsidies are given. Just for example, for DAP fertilizer itself, 1 ton, government is giving how much subsidy? 1 ton of DAP. Can anyone answer? What is the subsidy given for fertilizers? 50,000 rupees subsidies per ton. And also, last 2 years back, DAP prices escalated, almost double. If the fertilizer cost is enhanced, again they will go to loss and they may not use the fertilizer. That's why they kept
at the same for the selling to the farmers, but that subsidy is given by the government to the fertilizer manufacturers. That was the case. That's why how best we can reduce the consumption of fertilizers. That was the thinking. Then you see, so they've taken the stock of wherever the natural farming movement is being taken place. So one of the state is leading the natural farming again through polycar suggestions only, Andhra Pradesh. Yesterday I mentioned almost this year there were 8 lakh farmers enrolled in the natural farming. Their study, it's a summary, it reveals that to cultivate rice, you can see the figure, farmers spend 5,900 rupees per acre on chemical inputs in the form of fertilizers or pesticides, but under natural farming, whatever the practices that are adopted by the farmers, they can spend only 846 rupees. You can work out the percentage of saving here. Almost 80% cost is saved, okay, per acre on the natural inputs. Similarly, for maize crop, it's only 503 rupees per acre, the required cost under natural farming, as against 7,500 per acre for the chemical inputs in the conventional farming practices. Similarly, for groundnut, 1,180 conventional practices versus 780. Similarly, rice, maize, okay. So they showed that, you can see here, the ZBNF farmer cultivating rice can avoid fertilizer consumption by 83 to 99%. That was the question put forth in the meeting, and they analyzed it. Wherever the natural farming is adopted, that study shows that it can cut down the fertilizer consumption, because under natural farming we are not supposed to use any of the chemical fertilizers. In groundnut farmers, you can see almost 70% of the urea and 91% of the DAP can be saved. That was the summary of the studies that are taken in Andhra Pradesh. Okay. Then high-level roundtable on agroecology and natural farming. So natural farming offers a potential pathway out of the agricultural crisis in India, because it is going to give answers to all these things. India, high input costs, fragile production systems, excessive and often polluting uses of inputs, and farmer indebtedness. All these can be overcome by the natural farming. That's the potentiality of the natural farming. Then natural farming can help us build back better. So rejuvenating the soil health, etc. Okay, not just by making agriculture both resilient and productive, but also by providing more green jobs and improving the quality of food and ecosystem services. They are not thinking only in view of reducing the inputs in the form of synthetic fertilizers or pesticides, but it's also giving generation of employment to the farmers or farm youths. That too, they coined it as green jobs, because yesterday I mentioned the farmers first they are exposed to the pesticides. That can be overcome if they adopt the natural farming, improving the quality of food. So whatever the food you are obtaining by following the natural farming practices, it is safer and ecosystem services. It's all interlinked, environmental, pollution and other things. So NARM Krida collaborative project on adoption of natural farming and its effect on crop yield and farmers' livelihood in India. The results show crop yield in natural farming is not higher compared to conventional farming. So what is the conclusion? Natural farming is not to aim at higher productivity or enhancing the productivity, but reducing the cost of cultivation. Okay? So compared to conventional, when supplemented with farm and manure or Ganajivamrita, the yield improves significantly. Apart from practicing only the natural farming practices, whatever is there, Bijamrita, Jivamrita and other practices, if it is supported with some organic manures either in the form of almond manure that we are coining nowadays as intensive natural farming, integrating some of the organic farming practices in natural farming. If you adopt it, whatever the yield reductions is there, that can be overcome. That's the conclusion. That's the study done by NARM. Due to substantial reduction in input costs in natural farming as compared to conventional farming, a significant reduction in the cost of cultivation of all the crops is also recorded. So they studied across the states and this is the conclusion. So not only is going to increase the yield, but substantial amount is saved in cost of cultivation in terms of inputs used in the agriculture practices. This results into better profitability. If you work out benefit cost ratio, now what is the benefit cost ratio? Expenditure or cost of cultivation by the returns, gross returns, is it not? Therefore, that will be better when we compare with conventional farming practices. So, natural farming may not be looked at as a yield enhancing practice. Initially, you should not think that natural farming is to aim at higher yield or is the technology to enhance the productivity. It's not that. However, it definitely increases farmers' income through the cost reduction. So, natural farming is aiming at profitability by reducing the cost of cultivation. That's the conclusion. The benefits are manifold, ranging from less cost of cultivation, better quality and taste to premium price. However, whatever the yield, still a farmers can be encouraged or he will get benefit if the produce is supported with premium price. Okay, because of the safer food or quality food or better food, whatever you can say. That was the conclusion. Then national level consultation on BPKP natural farming. Again, it's usage of inputs available in the farm. There is no external inputs to be purchased. Support quality agriculture commodities, improves the livelihood of the farmers and socio-economic sustainable farming practice. That's the overall conclusion. Then long-term benefits of ground level implementation on soil health, cost of production, environment, biodiversity and production and quality of produce. This is most concerned. Not the short term, you should not look into the short term benefits. Okay, overall if this practice is adopted, there will be long term benefits through these natural farming practices. So that's our lecture series on natural farming. Online lectures was also held. I also participated virtually. That's organized by Niti Aayog. Then convert small scale farming into comparative advantage. Okay. Then land and farm labor productivities can be increased not through few large mono productions. So one of the author, he concluded that it's not for the monoculture crops like our rice, wheat cropping system, sugarcane, maize, etc. It should be diversified cropping systems. You can see such as rice, wheat, sugarcane and others with costly industrial inputs. No, for all these crops we need hybrid seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, fossil fuel energies, etc. But in natural farming, we can substitute all those things through the specific agro ecosystem, boosting biological synergies below and above the ground. All these things will be substituted with the available inputs with the farmers. So ultimately, to rejuvenate the denuded land through natural farming, there are instances also shows that whatever the degraded lands are there, that can be improved by adopting natural farming practices within 1 or 2 years also. Rejuvenation is possible. So in 21, meeting with the Ministry of Rural Development, they also initiated pilot studies at all the states, okay, major states, whatever is mentioned. Then national workshop on innovative agriculture and release of compendium of success stories of natural farming. I also submitted about 16 success stories of farmers who adopted natural farming in Karnataka. Similarly, our each agroclimatic zone, they have given the success stories of the farmers who adopted it, and that is released in the form of compendium, updating what are the crops they are raising, what are the practices they are doing, and how they are getting the yield, and also what are the benefits of natural farming. Individual stories of the farmers is recorded in short, and it is also given. Almost 110 success stories are released in this compendium. That's all about the government encouragement towards the natural farming. And ultimately, you know, there are 4 wheels of natural farming. That's one is Bijamrut, okay, that's treating the seeds with concoctions that is prepared out of, what is that, cow dung and cow urine, right? It acts as an antifungal and also antibacterial agent. Not only that, if we pathologists are here, I think, if we use any of the fungicides, what is the role of it? They will act as an anti-fungicides or bactericide. But if you use Bijamrut, Bijamrut will act as stimulant, biostimulant, because cow urine is also having some hormones, that gibberellins, that enhances the germination percentage and also vigor of the crop. That's the role of Bijamrut. Then Jivamrut, again it is prepared by using cow dung, cow urine. Of course, jaggery and pulse flour is added here to supplement the energy and also protein source. That's the second pillar we say. Then mulching is the third pillar. So mulching means 12 months of the year the soil should be covered with either crop residue mulch, live mulch, or any other companion crops, etc. Then if you follow these 3 pillars, the 4th wheel will automatically generate in the soil. WAFSA means that's the aeration, balance between the soil moisture and air in the soil. There will be improvement in the physical properties of the soil, that's called WAFSA. There will be, as we studied in the soil science basic courses itself, there should be a balance between soil, water and soil air. That will take place. We'll see later what is the role of Jivamrut and other things. And ultimately, you can see here the pest or plant protection is being taken through Neemastra, Brahmastra, Dashparni, Shuntiastra, Agniastra. So Neemastra is used for controlling the sucking pests in the initial stage of the crop. Then Agniastra is used as defoliators to control the most of the lepidopteran insects, those who are damaging the foliage of the crops. Similarly, Brahmastra is also used for against the defoliators. Dashparni is used for pod borers, and these Shuntiastra, sour buttermilk, are used to control the diseases. So that's the single slide will explain the inputs that are required for natural farming. So important practices, these are the 4 wheels. So natural farming practice aims at restoring soil health, maintenance of diversity, it may be crop diversity, biological diversity and other things, ensure animal welfare, stress on efficient use of natural or local resources and promote ecological fairness. That's the overall definition you can say in the different forms. Natural farming is an ecological farming approach where farming system works with the natural biodiversity, encouraging the soil's biological activity and managing the complexity of living organism, both plant and animal, to thrive along with food production systems. So, important practices that are essential for adoption of natural farming is, first of all, no external inputs. You should not buy anything from outside. As far as possible, farmer has to generate his requirement. Local seeds, the seeds which are suitable for the locality, for the soil, local varieties, of course, varieties that can be multiplied by themselves. So it indirectly says that hybrids are prohibited because he cannot do the hybrid seed production himself. Varieties is permitted. On-farm produced microbial formulations for seed treatment. As I mentioned, one of the on-farm preparation that can be done by the farmer is Bijamrut. Here I will compare with our organic because I am there in the organic farming institute. We recommend to use several types of biofertilizers, rhizobium, PSB, not KSB, zinc solubilizing bacteria, NPK consortia, VAM mycorrhiza, etc. Again, farmer has to depend on outside inputs. He has to purchase either from the market or from the institute. Whereas in Bijamrut preparation, he needs only one desi cow, its dung and urine. One thing. On-farm made microbial inoculants, that's already mentioned, that's the second wheel, Jivamrut, for soil enrichment. So in Jivamrut, we are multiplying the beneficial microorganisms that are there in the desi cow dung in large numbers, and that will be applied to the soil at the rate of 200 liters per acre per time. That's again every 15 days or 2 weeks or 3 weeks once in the crop, so that enormous microbial inoculants will be added to the soil. Cover crops and mulching with green and dry organic matter for nutrient recycling and for creating a suitable microclimate for maximum beneficial microbial activity in the soil. So once if you do the mulching, it covers the surface of the soil, partially it starts decomposing. There you are going to apply the Jivamrut. So Jivamrut, again, the microbes which are present in the Jivamrut is also escalating the rate of decomposition of the organic matter. Then it also acts as substrate to the microbes that are added through the Jivamrut. At the same time, when we add the Jivamrut, the earthworm population will also regenerate in the soil. Local earthworms, they will develop, and this mulching material will also act as a food material for the earthworm, thereby the soil, what we can say, the soil health or liveliness is enhanced. Mixed cropping, that is mixed cropping not only with respect to crop. I already mentioned in the definition itself, the natural farming should be mixed with perennial trees. Okay, perennial trees, either a fruit tree or a vegetable tree like drumstick, mango, sapota, whatever is convenient to him, it can be planted. Managing diversity on farm through integration of trees. Okay, that's most important. Natural farming means you should not go with monocropping. The farm model should be inculcated with the perennial trees. Management of pests through diversity and local on-farm made botanical concoctions. Agronomically, we mentioned several times, if you go for mixed cropping or strip cropping, it is going to distract the pest load or pest movement, etc. Likewise, diversification of the crops will help to maintain the pest balance, and also some of the crops will encourage the beneficial insects. That's how there will be a creation of balance between the pests and predators. So of course botanical concoctions are used, as I mentioned in the first slide, previous slide. Neemastra, Agniastra, Neemark, Dashparni, etc. are used to control the pests. Integration of livestock, especially of native breed, for cow dung and cow urine as essential input for several practices, and also water and moisture conservation. How can you expect water and moisture conservation in this practice? When you use the mulching, it will act as a harvester of the rain water. Whatever the rain's water is received, it will not allow to run off from the field. And if it is coupled with earthworm activities, burrowing nature, it helps to infiltrate the soil in situ. So in situ moisture conservation will be enhanced with these practices. That's how water and moisture conservation is also taking place. So of course these are some of the aims and objectives. Preserve natural flora and fauna. So yesterday also I mentioned a lot of traditional varieties being vanished. That will be farmer can go for diversified crops and varieties, restore soil health, maintain diversity in crop production, promote natural beneficial insects, animals and microbes. So it's the diversity is not only with respect to crops, it's also it diversify the insect load, pest load, animals and also microbes, promotion of local breeds, use of natural or local resource based inputs, reduce input cost, improve economics of the farmers. That's the objectives of the natural farm. Of course definitions I already mentioned. Some of the experience, of course Japanese method I will touch here. The natural farming is also interlinked with our sustainable development goals. You know, in last 2 years these are being discussed at every national conferences, sustainable goals. How the natural farming is linked to sustainable goals. You can see natural farming practices, socio-economic environment friendly farming will support in achieving the UN sustainable development goals by the year 2030. In another 5 or 6 years, if you adopt natural farming practices, how it is going to helpful? You can see that agroecological practices like natural farming being cost effective and ecologically compatible alternative would be an enabler in achieving the sustainable development goals. First, farmers' sustainability. It's supporting to the income, okay, by adopting the natural farming. It's going to achieve one by one, reducing the input costs. They can ensure better income and financial stability. That's one of the goal of sustainability, which would be in turn help alleviate poverty, bring in gender equality and ensure sustainable production and consumption patterns. Okay, one thing. This method would ensure food security and zero hunger, because first we propose the farmer to grow whatever the food required for his family to sustain the family, thereby the food security will be ensured through better yield, diversity in cropping and access to a suitable nutritional sources and income generating crops throughout the year. It's not only food security, nutritional security also will be taken care with the natural farming practices. Then water conserving and ecological preservation aspects of natural farming contribute to the availability and sustainable management of water reduction and also reduction in carbon dioxide emissions in various stages of agricultural value chain. Just one example is that as far as possible the deep tillage is prohibited. Therefore, the fossil fuel consumption is reduced under natural farming practices. Moreover, when you use the mulching material, huge amount of mulching material on the soil, so it is going to sequester the carbon in the soil. That's how it's helpful in reduction in the carbon dioxide emission. That's one of the goals of sustainable goals. Then reduced use of chemical inputs in agriculture in turn would result in arrest of land degradation, reduce ocean acidification, marine pollution from land-based activities. That is through eutrophication, is it not? When we apply the fertilizers, that will go along with runoff water. Even in paddy fields we observe, and the farmer will apply fertilizer, flooding the water. That whatever the water soluble fertilizers are there, that's going through water and contaminating all the natural resources or natural source of water, surface water bodies. That can be prevented. Natural farming would ensure good health of farmers, consumers, and can contribute to the reduction of various diseases in the community. So whatever the adverse effects of the chemicals are there, that can be overcome if we adopt the natural farming. That's how the natural farming is also fulfilling some of the goals, sustainable goals. So source you can go through in detail with these publications also. That's all about the overview, and if you have any questions you can keep. I will continue with the results of our experiments. Shall I go ahead, or if you have any questions we'll discuss. What
is the conversion period?
So, almost 2 years, some of the crops we observed in 1 year itself. In organic farming we say 3 years, but here result is in 1 year itself, because we are using huge amount of Jivamrut at every 15 days. You know, I show my experimental results also. 1 ml of Jivamrut is having almost 240 into 10 to the power of 5 microbes. It's almost million, 240 million. We are applying 200 liters per acre, and that will be applied at every 15 days, 21 days. Okay, so huge amount of microbial consumptions are added, and you can expect the conversion period within 1 year. That is also true. Yeah. Microbes? I will show that. I will show with the results. All the what are the in especially pulse crops, you can expect the conversion within a year. But as per our organic farming principles, we say that 3 years are required for the.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, of course, there are alternative sources also suggested. If a farmer is having sugarcane, he can use his own sugarcane juice as a, it's ultimately jaggery is supplied as an energy source for multiplication of the microbes. Okay? Or else, ripened banana, papaya, fruits can also be used for preparation of Jivamrut if jaggery is not there. Otherwise, yeah, diversification we say to grow even papaya and all the fruit trees in his farm. Whatever the ripened fruits are there, that can also be used. Or otherwise we say the chemical free jaggery, organic jaggery, that can be used as an energy source for the. Of course, these inputs, he has to make his own arrangements. If not possible, invariably he has to buy. First preference is he has to make his own arrangements in the form of fruits or by growing some sugar cane on the watering canals or domestic usage of water, etc. Hardly, 2 kg jaggery, he needs 20 kg of sugar cane. 10% is the conversion that can be used. Yes. Minimum tillage, as far as even I discussed with Prasanna sir. Sir, what about the tillage? Heavy plows, reversible plows are prohibited. Reversible tilting of the soil is prohibited, but minimum tillage essential for establishment of the crop, that can be done. Yes, bullock drawn, that's most preferred, because so that he can maintain the livestock. One bullock pair he can maintain, and the bullock drawns are preferred. as far as minimizing the cost on tillage operations. Yes, of course. Some of the it's the survey work, some average they have taken across the state, and some farmers they attempted to apply something. And in natural farming totally, because the fertilizers are prohibited, invariably the farmers who adopted 100% substitution will be there. And some farmers, why that 80-99% is came there, some of the farmers are keeping part of their land for conversion under natural farming, part of the land for commercial farmer practices. Many of the farmers I include with some in the southern Karnataka, they started the natural farming in half an acre just to see the significance. After observing the improvement, changes under the natural farming, gradually they converted their land completely to the natural farming. That's how that variations will be there. Otherwise 100% substitute can be done. There is no scope for use of chemical fertilizers in natural farming. Yeah, the next source is the mulching material. That's decomposed materials. It will add nutrients to the. That's what after looking to our experimental results, all your answers will come over there. It's very early to discuss it. Yeah. Yes. Even what I said, the soil which is not suitable for cultivation of the crops can be converted by adopting the natural farming practices, because it is going to enhance the life of the soil. So that's how. Even when the activities are more, you can find some changes. Literature showed that even salt affected soils can also be converted under natural farming. It's highly suitable for plantation crops, because if you adopt it in the, that's what yesterday our Vice Chancellor was also stressing. Shimoga is having huge areca nut gardens where there is no need of cultivation at all. It's also grown in 8 or 9 foot distance, and mulching practices, and there only you can adopt some intercrops, pulses, or any other spice crops. It's areca nut or any plantation crops are highly suitable for natural farming. That's how in Himachal Pradesh 2 lakh acres is converted to natural farming, particularly apple. And I heard the story of successful of natural farming adoption in Himachal Pradesh from one of the Deputy Director of Agriculture who came to manage Hyderabad. He says that 16 to 20 number of times pesticides are sprayed to control the mites and pests of the apple in the conventional practices. Whereas by adopting the natural farming practices, that pesticide consumption is drastically reduced, and because of the creation of the diversity, the pest load is also less, and you can think of the residues in the apple, that much can be reduced. That's the significance. It's highly suitable for the. It's suitable to every climate as far as is concerned. Yeah, that's more suitable. Arid and semi-arid, where the water source itself is less, and rain-fed areas, it is going to conserve more moisture, and as well, it's more suitable. Of course, we are not studied as far as to improve the soil. Lime is also a natural source that can be added to bring the neutral. Yes, in organic farming we suggest to use the either gypsum or lime. Similarly, to initially to build up or to bring the soil, especially in lateritic soils, high rainfall areas where the pH is acidic, that can be used. In natural farming as such, such studies are not done, if it is can be prepared with the farmer himself, then it can be permitted. Thing is that the principle, if you understand the principle, then you can go on what are the things that can be adopted. So as far as possible, there should not be any purchase of outside inputs, and also particularly synthetics, chemical in nature, that's prohibited. Yeah, that's permitted in organic farming. Prasanna Murthy sir, can you, it's also permitted under natural farming. Okay. The ultimately aim is to reduce the pesticide consumption or usage in the farming practices. Okay. Further, right. So let us go for almost this topic is going to cover whatever the research findings. Right. We'll see some of the basic aspects and also things in natural farming. Natural farming, there are several terminologies. Okay, it's a cow-based farming system that doesn't involve any external chemical or organic fertilizers. It is known by various names, as we discussed from yesterday: zero budget natural farming, prakritik krishi, cow-based natural farming, Shashwant Kheti, chemical-free agriculture, etc. Then Government of India is promoting natural farming through a scheme named BPKP. Then benefits of natural farming, as I so far mentioned, that is highlighted here: reduced cost of cultivation, reduces water requirement of the crops, climate change resilient, reduces risk in farming, rejuvenation of farmlands, safe and healthy food for citizens, utilizing the available cattle. Thus the Desi cow as valuable resource, helps in arresting growing needs for fertilizer and reduce subsidy burden. Those are all the objectives or benefits of the natural farming. And whatever I mentioned so far, it is covered in this circle. Principles of natural farming. It started with microbial seed treatment. That's the Bijamrut. Is it not? Local seed, use of local varieties, mixed cropping, integration of trees into the farm. Okay, water and moisture conservation, no external inputs, microbial inoculants for soil health. Okay, these are the principles. And 4 pillars I already explained: Bijamruta, Jivamruta, mulching, Vapsa. So in conclusion, as I mentioned, these are, will go in detail further. Why natural farming is important? You can see that present day unstable market price, farmers depend on loans, okay, for buying the external inputs. Cost of farming inputs is rapidly increasing day by day. Every input cost is raised. Demand for safe food increased among consumers because of the health consciousness. Economic survey has highlighted the ecological benefits of natural farming, and number of farmers suicide cases in growing continuously. So if they adopt natural farming, that also can be overcome. So I will come directly to the point, because these are all the things that are already explained to save the time. So many of the questions: why Desi cow? Wherever I go, farmers will ask the question, why we should use only Desi cow? Why not crossbred? Why not HF? Why not buffalo? So whatever the breeds which are there in our university farm, we used it. That is categorized into indigenous cows: Gir cow, Devani, Kilari, Malnad Gidda. Sorry, there is a spelling mistake. Crossbred cows, HF and Jersey, buffaloes, Dharwadi breed, Surti, and also Murrah, Bullocks also, bullock, cow dung and urine is also used for analysis. Kilari, Allikar and crossbred bullocks was also tested. If you see the general microflora and beneficial microflora in the dung of these breeds, you can see that yellow background. There is huge number of bacterial population is there in Gir and Malnad Gidda as compared to HF and Jersey. The population is more. Okay. Then in bullock, of course, Allikar breed is somewhat next to the cow. That's why Desi cow is preferred. Then general fungi is also more in Desi cow. Actinomycetes population is also more in Desi cows. Then come to the beneficial microbes, that is grouped into N-fixers and p-stabilizing microbes. They are also more. The population is more in case of Desi cow as compared to crossbred. Why not crossbred? We will give the answer here. 25 versus 65. Almost 3 times. Okay. The N-fixers, PSMs also you can see 12 and 16 versus 25, 29. The beneficial microbes are more in case of Desi cow. That's how it is preferred. Then the liquid and solid based formulations compared to the inputs, and also our traditional organic manures. You can see here cow dung, cow urine, Bijamrut, Ganajivamrut. Among all these things, Ganajivamrut, most of the population, general microflora and also beneficial microflora is more in Ganajivamrut, because Ganajivamrut is a solid form of Jivamrut. Okay, therefore the first highest is there in Ganajivamrut. Next you can see in Jivamrut, bacterial population per ml is almost 10 to the power of 5 into 216, fungi, actinomycetes and also N-fixers and PSMs. Next to Ganajivamrut, the population is more in Jivamrut. You can compare with FOM side by side. So bacterial population is FOM is 93 million as compared to 216. That's the vast variation between the Jivamrut and other things. Okay. Then you can also compare with vermicompost. Okay. Vermicompost is better than farm-made manure, but Ganajivamrut is far better. Okay. And also you can compare with the inputs that are used for the preparation. That's how the Ganajivamrut and Jivamrut is of higher quality in terms of microbial populations. So, as I mentioned, Bijamrut, several people will ask, and of course you have the practicals also. The required thing for preparation of Bijamrut is only Desi cow dung, 5 kg, cow urine, 5 liters, water 20 liters and 50 grams of lime to neutralize the pH. Only you have to tie the dung in the perforated cloth, soak it overnight, and it should be angled. The bottom should not touch to the bottom because the oozes should come to the solution. Okay. Then in the morning, mix the 5 liter of cow urine to that and add supernated lime water to neutralize the pH and use for the seed treatment. These are the different methods of seed treatment that we adopted, or sometimes we tried directly treating the seeds with Bijamrut, but that comes in contact with cow dung and that makes pellets. So it will not easily pass through the seed drill. Therefore, we used this method. The seeds are tied in onion bags, okay, that is immersed in water. The hard coat seeds are to be immersed for 8 to 10 minutes, whereas the thin seed coat like groundnut and soybean, the Bijamrut has to be sprinkled on the surface of the seed and it should be shade dried before sowing. Here also after soaking, it should be shade dried and used for sowing. Okay, that's the Bijamrut. And also, what are the composition of this Bijamrut, you can see it consists of all major nutrients, secondary nutrients and micronutrients. Apart from, it is also consisting of majority of the microbes, beneficial microorganisms, nitrogen fixers, phosphate solubilizing microorganisms, and general microflora. We don't know what are the microfloras which are there. In depth, there is scope for study what are it contains. Okay, we don't know the role of that in enhancing the growth, germination, vigor of the crop. Okay, in general, we can say that Bijamrut consists of all the nutrients that is required for germinating seed and beneficial microbes. Jivamrut, again the requirement is we need 200-liter barrel, water, dung, urine, 2 kg of jaggery, 2 kg of pulse flour, and also handful of native soil or the soil which are there on the bunds. Okay, or you can use soil of eggnog trees, below the eggnog trees. So preparation methods: just pour the water, make the slurry of the dung, mix all the things, whatever the slurry of pulse flour, jaggery, everything, and it has to be kept for 5 to 7 days. And again, number of days depends on the climatic conditions. In summer, Jivamrut will be ready in 3 or 4 days. Okay, in monsoon season it will be ready. Maximum population, we studied the population from day 1, 3 alternative days, 5, 7, 9 up to 19th day. So we observed in monsoon season the maximum population will be there on 7th day. It will be there up to 9th day, then the population will decline. And if it is in summer, the maximum population will reach on the 5th day itself, and peak will be there up to 7th day, then the population will decline. Whereas in winter season, that will take about 9th day onwards. The peak population will enhance, or the maximum population will be observed on 9th day. It all depends on the weather and temperature. Okay, that's how. Then this Jivamrut is applied on the soil. Okay, you can see. Yes, you can use any, because you will not get the fresh cow urine. You have to collect the cow urine. You have the habit of collecting the cow urine, whatever comes every day. During night hours, that channel will be blocked. It will be collected in a pond, that will be stored in a barrel, and that cow urine will be used. For Bijamrut, we suggest to go for fresh cow urine. For Jivamrut, you can use the stored cow urine. So this is the preparation methods, and the thing is that it should be stirred every day 3 times and covered with wet gunny cloth or gunny bags. Again, composition of Jivamrut, again it consists of all major, secondary and micronutrients, and also the bacteria, fungi, actinomycetes, nitrogen fixing and phosphorus fixing or solubilizing microbes. So these are the methods of application. If wide spaced crop is there, it can be applied to the base of the crop, like cotton. Okay, in row crops you can apply on the rows, or in the smothering crops or close spaced crops, it has to be sprinkled on the surface of the soil. So on an average 200 liters is required per acre. That is to be applied or every 15th day or 25, once in 21 days. Ghana Jivamrut, if the water is scarce, as madam mentioned, what about the conditions in arid and semi-arid areas where the water is a problem, there they can go for Ghana Jivamrut. So here, instead of 10 kg, 100 kg Ghana Jivamrut, required quantity of cow urine to make it a duff, and jaggery and pulse flour is used, and small, these are the methods I have shown here about the preparation. Okay, that pulse pulse flour is to be sprinkled on the surface of the dung. It has to be mixed thoroughly, like duff, what we prepared for chapatis and etc. And it will be kept overnight by covering the wet gunny bags, and then it will be in the next day after 24 hours, we say, that should be made into small balls and kept in the shade. This takes about 21 to 30 days for converting into Ganajyamrit. You cannot use it immediately. Okay, all the things whatever will be there, the microbes has to multiply, and then it will be converted into almost spore forms. Okay, so after 30 days it can be made into powder, store in a cool place. Okay, not exposing to the sunlight. Then you can use it as like a basal fertilizer dose or as a top dressing dose. Usually in our protocol, they recommended 1000 kg Ganajyamrit per hectare. Okay, 500 kg is applied as basal dose and 500 kg used as a top dressing. Per hectare. So again, you can see the nutrient compositions. You can compare with vermicompost also. NPK 1.68%, N 0.56, P, K 0.72. You can compare with our farmad manure. What is the NPK content in FOM? 0.5, 0.2, 0.5 on an average. So it's almost more than 3 times in N content, more than 3 times P content, and also K is almost 1.5 times. Even micronutrients are also there. Apart from that, huge number of microbes is there in Ganajyamrit. Particularly, these beneficial microorganisms are also more. So these are the methods, keeping overnight and application methods. And third is mulching. You know, agronomists know very well, soil mulch, live mulch, and also residue mulch. If no mulches are not possible, you can go for frequent intercultivation to break the cracks and also keep the soil moisture, conserving the soil moisture. Then in wider row spaced crops, you can intercrop with green manuring crops that can be chopped, and usually in our other practices what we say should be incorporated into the soil. But here in natural farming, you can keep it as a mulch. At 45 days after the sowing, in situ green manuring crops can be used as mulch. Okay, that's right side one. In wide spaced crops like red gram, cotton, or even in maize, you can go for intercropping with smothering crops, live mulching. Red gram we have gone for soybean, as it was one of the important crop in Dharwad, or else sole crops also. If pulses are there, that can be taken as a smothering crops in almost all the wide spaced crops, and also in plantation crops, leguminous crops can be taken as smothering crop. That will control weeds, and also surface mulching, live mulch, it will act, and also lot of residues, leaf litters will be added back to the soil. Strip cropping is most suitable to prevent the pest movements and also interacting with the agronomically advantages. You can go for strip cropping, that's navane with red gram, groundnut with red gram, etc. And farmers are also, natural farming practicing farmers feel. One of the farmer in Gadag district, he adopted Rs gram groundnut sapota. You can see that groundnut is intercropped with Rs gram, and also sapota is grown, and that's how the multiple cropping systems or diversification is adopted. In sugarcane based cropping system, our Padekar ji used to suggest 5-layer farming. What are those 5-layer farming? You can see sugarcane, there are 2 planting methods we studied. Field row planting, the population of sugarcane will be 100% there. Only we are shifting the row arrangements to accommodate the intercrops. Whereas wide row spacing, 50% of the sugarcane crop will be there. So how to accommodate? Onions are grown adjacent to the sugarcane. There will not be any competition, okay, for the sugarcane. Adjacent to that, you can go for cowpea, then chili and coriander. And also, he suggests that farmers should get income at every month. Starts with harvesting coriander for herb, leaf purpose at 1 month or 35 days. Then you can go for harvesting cowpea as a vegetable or as a grain at 60th day or 75th day. Then onion will come at 110 or 120 days, chili 150 to 180 days, and sugarcane year-long crop. Likewise, after harvesting especially, there is scope to take up the second set of intercrops after harvesting these crops, even after 150 days or 160 days. There will be wide space between the crops, between the sugarcane lines. They can go for intercropping with other suitable crops. We tried even sequence after harvesting soybean, turmeric, and even chickpea, etc. So another input required is Saptadanya Kashayam. That's used as a growth hormone at the grain filling stage. So there will be 7 ingredients: sesame, green gram, black gram, moth bean, cowpea, chickpea, and wheat. Okay, 1 oil seed, 1 cereal, and 5 pulses. Okay, again cow urine required is 5 liter. You can see the picture. Allow the grains to germinate. Keep it for 2 to 3 days. After getting 1 centimeter length of germs that can be made into paste, okay, then it will be added to the cow urine and also soaked water, and it can be mixed with 200 liters of water. Keep it overnight, right, and used as a foliar spray, particularly at grain filling stage. It enhances the grain quality, luster, and also grain filling. So these are the inputs required as a nutrient supplementation. Yes, it is common for all the crops. It's not specifications, okay, in all the crops. Then as I mentioned, the pest control astras, any crops is also susceptible, or nowadays we are observing the pests also. Yes, I will come to the Brahmastra next. Neemastra, initially we need Neemastra. We follow a schedule of these applications. Neemastra is prepared by using neem leaves, okay. You can see there the inputs required: desi cow dung 2 kg, cow urine 10 liters, neem leaves 10 kg. The neem leaves has to be made into paste, and that should be added to the water along with the cow dung slurry, and also add the urine. Keep it for 3 days. Every day it should be stirred, okay. Then after 3rd day you can filter it and use on the crop directly. So it will helpful in controlling the almost all the sucking pests. No dilution, because already 200 liters is added. It is required per acre, okay. This solution can be used per acre without any dilution. Brahmastra, of course 10 types of leaves are given. You can use any 5 types of leaves, okay. Usually those which are having a milky secretion or not consumed by the cattle, that can be treated. Neem leaves is common. Bitter gourd leaves, calotropis, castor leaves, guava, parthenium, pongamia, custard apple, lantana, okay, datura, pomegranate. Any 5 leaves that are available in this farm, okay. Then the required thing is here: no water, urine. Cow urine is required. In 20 liters of cow urine, this 2 kg each of these leaves is made into paste, and it should be boiled, Okay, 4 times. Again, it should be kept for 3 days. Okay, and every day it should be stirred. On third day, you can filter it and use as a foliar spray to control the defoliators. Okay, and Brahmastra acts as ovicidal. Like our some pesticides are also there. Profenofos, it acts as a ovicidal, and here also you can use this. Whenever you observe some pests or egg glazed on the crop leaves or tip of the crop, at that time this Brahmastra can be used. It can also be used as against defoliators, pod and fruit borers. Okay, several, but dosage is not direct here because it's a concentrated one boiled in cow urine. Mix 6 liters of Brahmastra in 200 liters of water. That is the requirement. Then Agniastra is okay, I will share. That also made into booklets. That's also given. Yeah. So Agniastra is another formulation, concoctions we can say. Again, it's also boiled in cow urine, but ingredients are garlic, that's a local garlic, pungent chili, tobacco, and 5 kg of neem leaves. Okay. Again, all these are made into paste and boiled in cow urine, kept over 3 days. Okay. Then it has to be stirred every day 3 times, and later it can be filtered and used. You can keep your questions at the end. So Agniastra used to control against defoliators, leaf rollers, particularly in rice and even in soybean also we observed leaf rollers, stem borers, fruit and pod borers. Again, dosage required here is also 6 liters per 200 liters of water. You can use it as a schedule so that it can repel, and initial stage itself it gets controlled. Dashparni. Again, Dasha means 10 types of leaves. So I have given almost 18 types of leaves and other things. You can use any 10 leaves here. And the preparation methods, it's a mixture of Brahmastra and Agniastra. All the ingredients that are used in Agniastra are also used here. Garlic, chili, tobacco, then neem leaves, 10 types of leaves, everything. And every leaf should be made into paste. Okay, that is most required. The contents of the leaves will be released to the solution when you made it into a paste. Okay, chili, garlic, and all things are added. Again, here it is dissolved in 200 liters of water, not in cow urine. In Brahmastra and Agniastra, we are boiling in the ingredients in the cow urine. Here it is dissolved in water, and that will be kept for almost 40 days. The thing is that every day it should be stirred for 3 times. Then after 40th day, it will be filtered, and that can be stored also and used as a pesticide. Dashparni acts as ovicidal and also useful to control against all defoliators and pod, stem and fruit borers. It's a multi-purpose. You can use it. Again, dosage is 6 liters per 200 liters of water. So all these ingredients is used for control of the pests of the crops. Then come to the disease controlling concoctions. Shunti Astra. Again, you have to take 2 liters of milk, dry ginger powder, preferably that milk is also desi cow milk, and it will be boiled separately. Take out the whatever the cream that comes out of the milk and mix both the things together in 200 liters of water, filter it and spray on the crop, and this is particularly used to control the fungal diseases and also bacterial disease of the crops. Next is sour buttermilk. If you keep the buttermilk for 5 days, okay, that will become a sour buttermilk, right? That can be used to control all the fungal and bacterial diseases. Again, 6 liters is required per acre.
Kakulina Kashaya. That's available. Here, Kakul, anybody knows what is Kakul? The cow dung, it is available in the grazing land. When you allow the land, cattle to graze in the field, that old dung, that is also there will be conversions and there will be development of microbes in such cow dung. So that should be collected and used, and 5 kg of this cow dung made into powder and dissolved in water, and 200 liters of water will be used, and this should be dissolved and kept for fermentation for 3 days. After 3 days you can filter and use it as a anti-fungicide, okay, to control all the fungal and bacterial disease of the crops. And if it is not available, what our farmers are doing, Ganajivamrut is soaked and the supernatant liquid will be taken, and that is used as a spray to control the diseases. That's the preparation, okay, to control the, and how the cost of these inputs are varied. You can see Bijamrut for preparation of 15 liters or the Bijamrut required per acre, just cost required is 0.75 rupees per liter. If the seed requirement is very less, you can require hardly 1 or 2 liters of Bijamrut. So in 75 paisa you can treat the seeds. Jivamrut per acre, the 200 liters, consider all the input costs, cow dung, urine, and also jaggery, flour, labor, everything. So 243 rupees, out of which if labor is himself a farmer, then that can be saved. But for the economics purpose, worked out. Similarly, Ganajivamrut 321 rupees per 70 kg. Means if you use 100 kg dung, ultimately you will get 70% of Ganajivamrut. So that costs 321 rupees per kg, 4 rupees 50 paisa. Saptadanya Kashaya 131 rupees required per acre. Then Neemastra 75 rupees, Brahmastra 179 rupees, okay, for 15 liters. Then you can work out what is the cost of the material per acre. 15 liters, 6 liter, this is sufficient to 1 hectare. Is it not? 179 rupees for 1 hectare. Similarly, Agniastra again is 395 rupees. Dashparni, it's about cost involved is 469 rupees. That's how the input cost used in the natural farming will be very meager as compared to our conventional pesticides. Shunti Astra 120 rupees and sour buttermilk 125 rupees. Considering all the things. So those are all the inputs required to grow a crop under natural farming. Let us see some of the results. We have done all these crops. Research, validation of different farming practices in grain gram, rabi sorghum, maize, chickpea, soybean, wheat, and intercrops, soybean plus maize, chickpea plus linseed, cotton plus groundnut, okay, then maize plus red gram, then millets with groundnut based intercropping system, millets with red gram based intercropping systems. See the results. Practices, just I will explain for one crop. This is for cotton and groundnut intercropping system. What is the difference between the farming practices? So in recommended package of practice, we used as per the recommendation seed treatment of biofertilizers, applied the chemical fertilizer, farmyard manure, and also to control the pests we used recommended pesticides, okay, under recommended package of practice. In organic farming, seeds are treated with biofertilizers like rhizobium, PSB, and also trichoderma, and similarly for both the crops. And in natural farming, only Bijamrut was treated. In chemical farming, Vitavax is treated, okay, in our experimentation. Similarly for pest control, different as per the recommendations, we followed the things. Results. In cotton, you can see we obtained about 731 kg in natural farming as compared to 917 kg in conventional farming. So if you work out the percentage of reduction, it's about 25%. As compared to organic farming, it's about 20%. But the magnitude of reduction is less in groundnut. You can see the groundnut yield, pooled results, 18 quintals versus 17.5 quintal. Just 90 kg difference between our recommended package. That's the standard practice that we are recommending to the farmers. That's nothing but integrated crop management practices. Yield reduction is hardly 10%, okay, and 4.8% if you compare with organic farming. Cotton equivalent yield, when worked out, hardly the 15% yield reduction is there. Come to the how it is beneficial. When you see these economics, seed cotton yield that's represented here, and economics cost of cultivation, if you see in RPP, the cost of cultivation is more in organic farming. Okay, you can see the green line, total cost. Again, the total cost is divided into input cost and labor cost. Here, you can see the blue line. Labor cost, there is no much reduction. Hardly 10% reduction will be there because every operation is to be done by the farmer, and among the different practices it will be the same. But maximum reduction is there with respect to the material cost. Compared to organic farming, you can see here, the material cost is about 54,000, whereas in natural farming it's 31,000. Almost 40% material cost is saved. Okay. That's how, when you work out the economical returns in this RPP, you can see there, what is that? Gross return is maximum because the yield is maximum in RPP. But compare the natural farming here, though gross return is less, what is the status of net returns? The brown line, it's almost on par with our recommended package of practice. So whatever the yield reduction is there, that is compensated by the reduction in the cost, particularly the material cost. This is the economics with premium price. Though yield reduction is there, when we provided 20%, we consider as the premium price for organic produce. Similarly, we adopted the same procedure here. The natural farming net return is enhanced even as compared to RPP when we kept 20% as premium price. That's how the natural farming is beneficial. Come to the soil health. What is the effect on soil health? You can see the first bottom line. What is that? Can the last person say? Chemical farming. So as compared to the initial stage, the study was initiated in 2018. The organic carbon content is declining because we are not applying any organic manures, either in the form of farming manure or vermicompost, etc. That's how the deleterious effect is happening wherever the chemicals are, organic manures are not used. The green line is natural farming. You can see the improvement in the organic carbon. Of course, maximum improvement is there in the organic farming. The top line is with organic farming. It changes from 0.52 to almost 0.63, right? And even in recommended package of practice also organic carbon content is increased because there we are applying recommended dose of farm and manure. That's the one thing. Then what is the effect on the soil available nutrients? So here you can see nitrogen content, initial stages, and come to the 2021. What we observed, the green line is recommended package. The available nutrient status or soil fertility is maintained. Come to the organic farming, it's maintained or some time it's increased because of increase in the organic carbon content in the soil. But in natural farming, that's what is the line? Blue line. You can see there is decline
in available nitrogen from initial stage to the final year. Here the researchable issue is needed because crop uptake is there, as madam asked whether all the nutrients required by the crop is going to be supplied or not. Of course, it's taken up by the crop from the soil, that has to be over years. It showed a declining trend. We have to cope up with that. Means we have to find some avenues to build up that declining soil fertility. Similarly, for potassium, in other cases it's maintained under natural farming, there is declining trend. So with respect to secondary and micronutrients, you can see I have given the initial stage versus final stage also. Sulfur, it is maintained. Initially it was in natural farming 18.5, at the final year 19.3 after 3 years. Zinc, it's maintained. Iron, it's maintained because microbes helps in solubilizing the nutrients from the soil. Madam knows very well. And they are, since microbial activity is more, organic acid release will also be more, that is helpful in dissolving the nutrients. Manganese, it's maintained. Copper is maintained, even sometimes copper content is increased as compared to initial stages. Boron, it's also maintained. The problem is with respect to the major nutrients, that is to be taken care. Then of course uptake goes with the crop yield, that I will not stress. Come to the biological properties of the soil. So what you can see here, the green lines and also brown line. Brown line bars are with organic farming and green lines are with natural farming. You can see in cotton and also groundnut, dehydrogenase activity, that shows the microbial activity indirectly. Okay, they are maximum in these two practices. And if you go with integrated organic farming and also integrated natural farming, their biological activity is enhanced further. So here dehydrogenase activity, you can see blue line, integration of organic farming and also integration of natural farming, you will find maximum activity. Similarly, in groundnut crop, nodules, what is the effect on the nodules? So maximum number of nodules, effective nodules are more in case of natural farming, and also you can see fresh weight of nodule, dry weight of nodule, they are increased under natural farming compared to other farming practices. So that's about groundnut and intercropping. Pulses, of course the trend is same. Yield reduction is there to the extent of 27% in green gram, 26% in black gram, 22% in soybean. I already mentioned in the principles itself, natural farming is not the practice for enhancing the yield, okay, but you can see the cost of cultivation, how much you can save there, 22%, black gram 21%, again in soybean, its saving is there up to 31%. So overall net returns you can see 14,000 versus 17,000 in green gram. Means net profit that is retaining with the farmer will be more. Of course it is not with black gram, but in soybean you can see with premium price it is positive. It is more than conventional farming practices. Here also impact on soil organic carbon, that is more concerned nowadays. So here in green gram you can see organic farming, there is enhancement of 38% organic carbon compared to initial percentage, not with the total percent, right? So in natural farming there is increment in 27%, the same trend was observed in black gram and also soybean. Maximum or the increment is more in case of soybean because of addition of litters here and also the microbial activity. With organic farming practices as compared to initial stage, organic carbon content is increased to 55%, in natural farming enhanced to 22%. So on an average we can say 20 to 25% organic carbon is improved over 3 years of period, okay, compared to initial period. It was 2018 and 21 in 3 years of time. This is the crop condition under natural farming. You can see the green gram, organic farming and also the natural farming. The crop is healthy during summer season, though the growth is restricted under natural farming. You can see at the bottom. Can you find any difference between the top photographs and the bottom ones? Yeah, you can see the more number of parts, though growth is restricted, as foliage is more in the recommended practice because of the application of fertilizers and other things, but reproductive number of parts per plant is more in case of natural farming. That enhances the yield. Similarly, the beneficial microbes, you can see the red lines and magenta lines, they are most of the microbial properties are better with natural farming and organic farming practices. The interesting thing is that you compare with the chemical farming. You can see the nitrogen fixers is 9 with the chemical farming in 2021. That's after 3 years of initiation, whereas in natural farming 22 million. 9 versus 22 million. That much of beneficial microbes is increased. Similarly, PSMs in chemical farming is 15, whereas in natural farming it is 34.5. Enormous improvement, or the beneficial microorganisms are there in the soil. That shows the soil health improvement and nutrient supplementation capacity of the microbes. Yeah, that's what I mentioned. Organic farming, because we are adding huge amount of organic manures in the form of farmland manure, vermicompost, equivalent to phosphorus in case of pulses and equivalent to nitrogen in cereals. So naturally, always but we are comparing with that. Natural farming with these practices, they are on par in some of the microbes. You can see that 22 versus nitrogen fixers, RPP, in organic farming it is 16. Nitrogen fixers are better, even better than organic farming. They go hand in hand, organic farming and natural farming. In some years they are on par, and some years in dehydrogenase activity, organic farming and natural farming, they are on par. So that should, but you compare with the chemical farming. Nowadays, more than 50% of the farmers are unable to use the organic manures. They are depending solely on the chemical fertilizers and chemical inputs. In such cases, so soil fertility, soil biological activity is declining. This is just in 3 years. You can think of the long period without using the organic manures. So this is depicted here also. So another crop, I will not take much time. The trend in the pulse crops in Kharif season, you can see natural farming versus organic farming and also RPP. The yield levels is almost 10 or 20% less than the our conventional farming practices. That yield also shown. You can see why the nodule count is more in natural farming based on not only microbes. What is the other things that is influencing to enhance the nodules? Yeah, soil porosity. Soil porosity is better. There will be better aeration. So nodules development is more. You can see under natural farming, all the parameters concerned to the number of nodules, okay, and dry weights and total nodule weights, they are more with natural farming. You can also see the pictures at the bottom. The left side is natural farming. You can see the lateral roots development, number of nodules on the roots as compared to our chemical farming. The right side one is chemical farming, right? So that's the influence on the crop performance. Okay. So this is in green gram, soybean, okay, then Kharif soybean with natural farming and organic farming. These are all suitable crops, okay, I can say. Then red gram plus groundnut intercropping. Here some of we say red gram is sensitive crop, particularly for the pest management.
pod borers are more. So that's how in the natural farming yield reduction is there up to 30%. It may not be with concern to the growth. Okay, the pest management complex will be there. Therefore, compared to RPP, almost 14 quintal versus 9 quintal, that accounts to 30% yield reduction. But when we taken up groundnut as an intercrop, hardly 7% reduction is there. That yield reduction in red gram is compensated. When we work out red gram equivalent yield, the reduction comes down to 18%. That 18% yield reduction is compensated by the material cost, input cost. That you can see here. The cost of cultivation in case of RPP is 95,000, 90,000 in organic farming, whereas in natural farming 67,000. The cost reduction here is around 30%. So 18% yield reduction is compensated by yield reduction, cost reduction. That to input cost reduction is about 46%, right? And also we worked out economics with premium price and without premium price. So with premium price, without premium price, of course, you can see 1,11,000 versus 1,02,000. Net returns is important here, but benefit cost ratio even without premium price 2.53 in case of natural farming versus 2.16 in RPP. And when it is supported with premium price, that net returns is enhanced more than organic farming and also conventional farming. That's the findings we observed. And microbial benefits and millets are most suitable crops for natural farming. You can see that finger millet, of course, it's a bit fertilizer required crop. Nitrogen requirement is more. Here yield reduction is 18%. And also you can see 14 quintal versus 13 point. In groundnut yield reduction is less. It's almost on par. 14 versus 1395. Whereas finger millet yield 7 versus 5.8. The yield reduction is there 18%. And when we worked out equivalent yield, that is almost negligible. 5.3% is the yield reduction. And similarly, in case of parameters, economics, here also cost of cultivation is reduced to the extent of 22%. Without premium price also you can see the net returns here in groundnut plus finger millet intercropping 40,000 versus 50,000. Because the yield reduction, equivalent yield is only 5%. But cost reduction is there up to 22%, therefore net return is more. And of course, when premium price is given, that net return will be enhanced. Similarly, I will take another red gram based millet intercropping system. Okay, here also you can see, I will pass on. Red gram plus barnyard millet. I have taken 3 millets. I am giving only one trial information. Here, red gram grain yield reduced to the extent of 20%, whereas barnyard millet yield reduction is only 3%. Means millets, their nutrient requirement is less. They are performing better under stress conditions. Therefore, their performance is, we can say, almost 3%, means on par statistically. Red gram equivalent yield is 12% overall reduction. And when we worked out the economics, there is saving of cost to the extent of 25%, thereby the net returns are more, or in natural farming it's on par with RPP, and it is escalated when premium price is provided. That's the results. You can see the crop performance of foxtail millet and red gram under natural farming. Pulses, there is no reduction in the growth. When you provide these concoctions and also few of the astras, okay, neemastra and other things, even parts are also maintained. That's how
the yields are better when we go for intercropping rather than sole cropping. Influence on physical properties overall. I will give one instances. Physical properties of groundnut in summer. Initial maximum water holding capacity is 67%, that is enhanced to 74% in case of organic farming, and enhanced to 69%, 69.9% in natural farming. It shows that practices are going to enhance the water holding capacity, right? Whereas in chemical farming, you can see it is declining from 67 to 63%. Water holding capacity is reducing because of the poor physical properties. Bulk density, initially it was 1.31, reduced to 1.25 in organic farming and reduced to 1.28 in natural farming. Means the soil will become light with these practices. And porosity, you can see it is enhanced from 53 to 55 and 53 to 54.95 in natural farming. So this shows that there is an improvement in physical properties by adopting either organic farming or natural farming practices. Chemical practices, of course, this already I explained, I will not take much time here. Biological properties, here also there is an improvement. You can see the natural farming practices are in green line. Bacteria, okay, actinomycetes. In some cases, organic farming performing better with respect to general microflora and beneficial microflora. And in some years, even in the after 3 years, you can see PSM's population and also N fixers population are more in case of natural farming as even compared to organic farming and other farming practices. So this 3-year result shows that there is enormous improvement in the soil biological properties of the soil. Then I will come to the, you can see the groundnut crop performance under natural farming. RPP, organic farming and also natural farming. Can you find any difference? Groundnut is the most suitable crop for natural farming practices. Though it creates stress, the plant height is less, foliage is less, but more number of parts, pegs are penetrated to the soil. More number of parts we observed, more number of filled grains we observed in groundnut. And that's why it's almost under natural farming, it has given on par yield with our conventional recommended package of practices. You can see even individual yield plant performance, natural farming, organic farming, and we worked out even unfilled parts and filled parts. That is more with groundnut and also the harvested plants under natural farming. Okay, that's about the performance. Come to the influence of different farming systems on the earthworm. Theoretically, we said if you use Jivamrut, there will be enormous enhancement in the earthworm population. Let's see. This is in the summer green gram. You can see the population under natural farming almost raised to 7 lakh per hectare. These are all local earthworms, okay. But in chemical farming initial stages, you can see almost nil and some population was observed, but maximum population will be there even more than organic farming with respect to earthworm population. This is with respect to the green gram in Kharif season. Again, the population of the earthworms are more in natural farming. The same trend is observed in black gram summer season. It has gone beyond 6 lakhs per hectare. Again in black gram during Kharif season, almost 5,000. Soybean, it has gone beyond 12,000 because canopy coverage is more, leaf litter for falling to the soil will be more with soybean. Almost all the leaf will be shed at the time of harvesting. Only parts and stems will be harvested. Okay, this is in wheat system, wheat crop, 6,000, and that's all. So overall, there will be improvement in the population of the earthworms in these natural farming practices. I will skip this. Come to the negative. Of course, I should not spell out only the positive points of the natural farming practices, and some of the crops are not performing well under natural farming. So just an example here, maize, wheat and rabi sorghum. So you can see the grain yield. What is the extent of reduction under maize? 61% under natural farming. Of course, though cost is reduced to the extent of 35%, we cannot compensate the losses of the yield. That's why net returns without premium price is negative under natural farming. So we should not recommend the natural farming practices for the maize crop, because the nutrient required by the crop is unable to supply through our natural farming practices. Then similarly, of course, improvements, all the improvements will be there, but it could not able to meet out the nutrient requirement of the crop. You can see under natural farming, stressed crop, even wheat also, as compared to our recommended, these crops are requiring huge amount of nutrients that is immediately needed by the crop. So our natural farming practices are unable to supply the nutrients. That's also when you go with intercrops, not with the sole crop. There also we found 46% yield reduction. So this is microbial biomass studies. Then another crop is chickpea. Though chickpea is pulse crop, it's most suitable, but some of the points concerned to the pod borer in chickpea, if it is infested, that cannot be controlled through our natural farming practices. And another important thing is that in last 2 years we observed rust. Chickpea rust was severe and we could not able to control with our astras. So that is the negative point. So therefore yield reduction is there up to 38%. So economics will also be less compared to our conventional farming practices. Sometimes wilt also occurs in on this chickpea. So population is also reduced as compared to other organic farming practices. Rabi sorghum is another crop. It's also cereal, but yield reduced, you can see over years. Initially yield reduction was less, but later after third year yield reduction was maximum, even up to 50% yield reduction is there in rabi sorghum. Therefore you can see the crop performance also. Nitrogen deficiency we observed in case of sorghum, rabi sorghum. That's all about the negative points. The crops which are requiring high inputs are not suitable for natural farming practices. And of course this is the extension activities done and also the demonstrations done in the farmers field. Initially we trained the clusters, tent and CRPs. Through them the farmers are trained and demonstrated in the farmers field. And summary of the Belgavi district, where the green gram, soybean and sugarcane crops are grown. And the first thing is that whatever you can see here, labor cost, material cost and cost of production, cost of cultivation is all reduced under natural farming. Yield is also reduced. First column, first bars are yield. But when you come to the net returns, you can see that natural farming is performing better. In BC ratio also they are better because of those. You can see the reduction in cost of materials, cost of cultivation. So in farmers field the cost of cultivation is reduced to almost 40%. This is in Belgaum district. And farmers are also adopting, madam was asking, sugarcane. In sugarcane, they are shifting the, what is that, trashes to one of the furrows, and in one furrow they are using 2 rows of soybean or 3 rows of groundnut as an intercrop. They take added advantage, and that's how the yield is reduction. Whatever is happened is compensated through intercropping system. And this is another farmer who adopted sugarcane based cropping system. You can see what may be the spacing adopted in this sugarcane crop. That is shown width of the hand, 6 foot spacing, almost skipping a row, and taken the intercrops like soybean, marigold, groundnut in different strips. And as per the interview, farmers obtained about 35,000 rupees income through the intercrops in 1 acre. That's how. And later he could able to manage, and of course he is managing from last 10 years. Over years there will be build-up of soil fertility, and he is harvesting about 50 tons of sugarcane per acre. That's the advantage, and we did a field day in his farmer field also. And in Dharwad district, groundnut and green gram, their net returns and benefit cost ratio is better, and also you can see the input or material cost saving is almost, even in some cases, gone 80% also. So total cost of cultivation is reduced, cost of production is also reduced. That's how natural farming performing better under groundnut and green gram in Dharwad district. This one farmer who is adopting natural farming from last 20 years. So in 8 acres, of course he is having 14 acres. In that 8 acres he is cultivating groundnut. Some years he is also cultivating, see the intensity of nodules in his groundnut plant roots. Intercropped with millets, barnyard millet, and you will grow different millets in different strips. That's how he is getting benefits and also growing the crop. And in Haveri district, several crops are there: cotton, groundnut, soybean, paddy and maize. Again, here also the returns with maize is less, but with other crops it's better. And in Gadag district, groundnut, it is positive, and that's the overall study in the farmer's field. Okay, so this is particularly I am stressing with respect to organic carbon change over conventional farming. In organic farming, the percentage change is 18.6%, in natural farming 2.9%, and when we integrate the natural farming with organic farming, there will be improvement in the organic carbon percent to the extent of 12%. And that's when we compared with conventional farming. When we compared with chemical farming, you can see the improvement. Organic farming, percentage of organic carbon improvement is 41%, and natural farming is 19%. When we integrate these two practices, there will be improvement of 33% over chemical farming. The content is also given here. Farmers field organic carbon, it's almost average of 60 farmers. Yeah, practices of part of the nutrient that we are supplementing through FIM, vermicompost, and all the principles of natural farming is adopted. Okay, so you can see the farmers field organic carbon who are adopting organic farming is 9.8 gram per kg. Natural farming adopted farmers field 8.79. This is the study of farmers field. And conventional farming 5.27 gram per kg. That's the enormous improvement we can observe by adopting either through natural or organic farming. That reflection on available nutrients also. There will be improvement. Maximum available nutrients are there in organic farming, followed by natural farming. And ultimately, that's what Madam asked. Natural farming we learned so far. In integration of natural farming, the organic farming practices are inculcated with the natural farming practice. Means
Nutrients are supplied through farmyard manure, vermicompost. We integrated part of the practices of organic farming in natural farming. Okay. Only thing we added the organic manures, farmyard manure, vermicompost in the natural farming fields. And all the other things are on the. Okay, in our experimentation, we did 4 plots. Okay, one is organic farming, purely organic farming practices, natural farming, that's purely natural farming practices. In organic integration, IOF, integration of organic farming, over and above all the practices of organic farming, we imposed natural farming practices. Okay, in integrated natural farming, we reduced the input of organic farming to the extent of 50% and followed all the practices of natural farming. Because in IOF, the cost of cultivation is more. In organic farming itself, cost of cultivation is more as we compare, even compared to conventional farming, because of the farmyard manure, vermicompost that is applied equivalent to N in cereals, equivalent to P in case of pulses. So that's the difference. In integrated natural farming, we reduce the quantity of organic manures that is applied in organic farming to the extent of 50%. Whereas in IOF, over and above whatever the organic farming requirement is there, then we applied imposed natural farming practices. INF is better because the cost reduction is there. IOF is going to add still more cost. Okay. So ultimately, in order to follow the natural farming, what is required? Desi cow, some of the materials that are required to prepare Bijamruta, Jivamruta and Ganajivamruta, this is required. So with this, I conclude my talk. You can have some summary is also given. Whatever I talked, I given the summary of the results, right? And ultimately, we recommended these crops for our package of practices. What are those things? Based on the results: green gram, black gram, groundnut, soybean, intercropping systems like groundnut plus cotton, red gram plus groundnut for black soils, and for light soils, red soils, groundnut, kodo millet, finger millet, brown top millet, red gram with barnyard millet, foxtail millet and finger millet. So that's the recommendations. So other crops we are not recommending. And ultimately I will conclude the benefits of natural farming is all these things. Okay, improved yield, increased farmers' income, minimize cost, ensure better health, employment generation, eliminates application of synthetic chemical inputs, environmental conservation, reduced water consumption, rejuvenation of soil health, livestock sustainability. So I am concluding. Okay, so we have to encourage natural farming to expand to all the states and union territories in India because of these benefits. Okay. Ultimately, we should not look into only yield. So I am concluding with this. We should not look only cost and benefits in terms of yield and economics. We should look into soil, water, energy, biodiversity, carbon sequestration, services, mitigation and adaptation to climate change, and organic and natural farming systems are more productive and profitable. So with this statement, I conclude my talk. Yeah. Now, it's of course discussed often on and there itself. If you have still any questions, it's open for discussion. Of course, but we have not used the vermi wash in our study, and I have not shown. That's also studied. That's also containing all the beneficial microorganisms.
It's also act as a growth promoting substance. We are recommending in organic farming 10% of vermi wash 2 times spray at flowering stage and also grain filling stage. In short duration crops like green gram, 30 days and 45 to 50 days interval. Yes, madam. Yeah, P equivalent. Yeah, for cereals, N equivalent. For legumes, P equivalent. This is the national policy and also in all the organic farming practices. When we calculate the quantity of nutrients to be supplied through FOM and vermicompost, say for example groundnut, 50 kg P is required. 0.2% is the content of FOM and almost 0.6 in case of vermicompost. That's why this accounts to almost 15 or 16 tons of FOM. The cost of production or cost of cultivation in organic farming is high because of these inputs. Oilseeds also, whatever the P is there. Soybean 80 kg. Soybean phosphorus required is 80 kg recommended dose. So invariably we have to apply farmland manure 50%, vermicompost 50%. Think of the 40 kg P to be supplied through the farmland manure. That adds to the cost. That's why the cost of cultivation in most of the cases in our organic farming treatment is more. Because almost 50% is cost is of supplying the organic manures. Yes. Whatever you are using in the field, Ganaju Amruta at the time of using in the field, vermicompost, yes, at the time of application. No need. Once if you know the contents and an average you can 2-3 samples, 2-3 seasons you work out and use it for the calculation. No, as such, the nutrients will not be lost if you expose to sunlight. If you allow the nitrogen to volatilize, then the stored material may lose. If you preserve it properly, that's why it should be preserved under shade. And always we covered Ganaju Amrut with our green leaf manures or wet gunny bags. If you store it properly, contents will be same. If you add more water, then it will be diluted, the content may reduce. That's how it varies. So on an average, you can work out for 2-3 seasons and use that content. Usually, generally you should observe the pest incidence. Whenever it occurs, at that time only, based on the type of pest, you can go for. Usually, the sequential application starts with Neemastra when the vegetative stage is there. Then when flower initiations takes place or any defoliation is observed, then you can go for Brahmastra, Agniastra. At last when pod formation, the crop come to the pod formation stage, Dashparni. Intermittently, if any incidence of disease is there, then you can go for fungicides. Yeah. Madam, in Sirsi, the whole project is worked and they come out with things. They worked on arecanut, ginger and also this garlic worked out. And when you visit Canary Mutt, of course, our horticulturist in zone 8, we have in zone 8 2 universities. I did on only field crops. My colleague in the Bagalkot University, Mugathihalli, worked on horticulture crops. He feels that it's very difficult to take up natural farming in tomato, cabbage, etc. But when we visited Canary Mata, there Swamiji told that don't miss to visit the horticulture garden or vegetable garden. Go and visit, he told. We visited there. He was growing almost modern practices only with all creepers, climbers, bendy, ridge guard, then tomato, brinjal, cauliflower, this what is that capsicum in large scale under natural farming practice. Of course, you can say integration because he is having a goshala and using huge amount of organic manures, but successfully he showed that vegetables can also be grown under natural farm. Only thing, we have to create a microclimate with the diversified cropping systems. That's possible. Hmm. No, general means it's huge. We don't know how many species or types of bacteria are there. Okay, in compost culture, we take up 4 types of organism for compost culture for enhancing the decomposition. That's what the research is needed. In soil or in these astras or inputs. We don't know how many types of organisms are there, their role. So that's why we grouped into a general bacteria, fungi and actinomycetes. There is a huge scope for going depth for microbiologists. They can study what are the further you can classify the organisms that is needed. Yes. In our project only, now I found the difference in yield gaps, for 20%, what our director of research suggested. Try to bridge the gap, yield gap. We should not lose yield. At least we should get on par yield. So we are integrating, some of the plots are subdivided and taken it as a integrated natural farming and integrated organic farm. That practice is also going on. When we observe the last year study, when we integrate the organic farming either with natural farming or natural farming with organic farming, the biological properties are improved rather than both. Yeah, in the permanent plot only, we subdivided the organic plot and superimposed the natural farming in the organic farming. Similarly, in natural farming, we added some of the subdivided into subplots. Okay, there we added the organic inputs and studied in one crop season last year, and we observed improvement in the all the biological properties. Better. That's what madam asked, whether integrated organic farming or integrated natural farming. Integrated organic farming is better, but the cost of cultivation is also enhancing. But under integrated natural farming, its comparatively cost of cultivation is less, but yield is improved, and that's why in some of the crops for zone 3, we recommended integrated natural farming. No, I mentioned subdivided, total cost of cultivation. You know the definition of cost of cultivation is the expenditure incurred from the land preparation to the harvesting, including marketing charges, interest on the working capital and supervision charges. Everything is considered. Labor, inputs, whatever is there. Even supervision cost also included. 10% on the total capital invested or total cost incurred. 6% of the banking rate of interest is also added to the cost of cultivation. And marketing preparation, winnowing, bagging, transportation, everything is considered in the cost of cultivation. Okay. So if there are no other questions, thank you very much for patience here. I might have taken more time.
Thank you, sir.